Welcome to today's program. As always, I'm your host, Jal Musumba, and today I'm having a very sensitive issue that is so now affecting youths. As we talk right now, a number have lost lives. So today I'm hosting Japheth, who is going to tell us his journey in addiction and how he ended up being a psychologist. So let's get it. Hi, how are you, Japheth?
I am fine, thank you.
You well?
I am very well.
Introduce yourself and give us your story.
All right. So I'm Japheth Githinji, otherwise known as Jeff. I am a counseling psychologist. I'm also an international certified addiction professional. I am a recovering addict or alcoholic, 6 years, 9 months, and 15 days. So
Fresh.
back today. That's 2,116 days. Yes. I'm happily married and father of one daughter. Yes.
So give us your journey. Where did it begin?
Well, it's usually hard to give my addiction story because it has so many components. And the time I've been in recovery, I've reflected on so many parts of myself, such that it's like this, but I'll give it my best so that the audience can get a picture of what addiction is all about, how it affects people, and how it starts, and what you can do.
And also how the people close to you get affected.
Definitely.
Yeah, so give us, where did it begin?
Yeah. So, myself, I was born in 1994, January 7th. Birthday yangu imepita tu juzi. My 30th birthday. I'm 30 now. And during our times, there was no, I don't know, baby class, kindergarten. I don't know whether it's during our time or it's where I was from. Ilikuwa unatoka nursery, unaingia class 1. See, my mom was a working mother. And nilikuwa katoto kasumbufu. Ni hapa tu nimetulia juu tuko on set.
So you are the firstborn?
I am the firstborn. I am the firstborn in a family of 2. I have me and my sister. So my mom took me to nursery school, or the school that was there at that time, because she had to go to work, and you see, she cannot stay with me, nasumbua mamboch, nini. So at 4 years nikapelekwa nursery school, and it so happened nilikuwa nashika kila siku, kila kitu. During those days, the recommended age ya kuingia class 1 ilikuwa 6 years. Sawa. But nimeingia nursery na 4 years. So class 1, by the time the following year, when my classmates were going to class 1, I was supposed to remain in nursery for the second year. So as such, I started, I was unable to remain because nilikuwa nasumbua wale watu wengine. So I had to go to class 1 at 5 years old. So that meant all through my education, in all the classes I have been to date, I've always been the youngest. With that being said, it was not always easy for me with the older kids and everything else, and I guess my personality. So I used to get bullied a lot, something I could not take home. In 2002, when I was only 8 years old, I was taken to boarding school. Hiyo wakati, hiyo ndio ilikuwa fashion. Hata ni sisi tulikuwa tunataka, tumeenda boarding. But the experience for me was not very pleasant because of the same issue. I was a very small boy. I was bullied, not physically by that time. It was mostly emotionally and verbally. But what used to happen inside of me was not pleasant. I used to feel out of place, like I don't fit in. In fact, I used to be the kind of child who didn't have even the esteem of telling a teacher, I want to go and pee. I want to go to the toilet. So there are times I could go on myself on the locker because, yeah, self-esteem issue. So I grew up with a lot of anxiety. It affected my performance, but as a child that young, I didn't have the vocabulary to even put words on my feelings. So the only way it used to come out was, I don't want to go back to school. When I'm asked, why don't you want to go back to school? I don't have a valid reason. So I always felt like I'm doing these things not for myself, but for
You're not happy
people.
about it.
I even remember those feelings now. I feel a pit in my stomach. So by God's grace, I finished primary school at 12. At that time, most people are finishing at 13, 14. So I joined high school. That time, a provincial high school, the best. At that time, it was the best high school in my
within the locality.
But they had one reputation, bullying. So now I go there. I finished class 8 at 12. I joined at 13. But before I go very far, during holidays sometimes, I would drink alcohol from home. Either it's Christmas and there are get-togethers and there's alcohol lying around, or my father's alcohol, whether in secret or you know, when grown-ups are having fun, like baba.
Piga moja.
But I had no discipline issues. But the issues I had were, for one, I was very disorderly. I was very, what do we call it? Unkempt, low self-esteem, and this pit feeling. I had here anxiety. That time I didn't know. I thought it was normal, you know. I thought everybody felt like that. So I enter Form 1. There's bullying there. And now the bullying has escalated. It had never been physical. Now it's physical. There's this underlying need that I always had to fit in, to be noticed. I always felt I'd never been noticed. As such, it also affected my performance, because I remember the grade I got in the first exam, Form 1, I never got it again, like 3 other lower grades. So in Form 2, there was this list that was being written. Na ulikuwa unaitiwa mzazi. I happened to be in that list, on that list. So mzazi akaitwa, akaambiwa kijana anavuta bangi. Patata singejitetea juu ya wenye nakaa.
Na ulikuwa unavuta?
At that time, no. Up to that point, no. The only thing I was guilty of was doctoring my results. So I was given, the requirement was for people to go for drug tests and everything, for you to be on medication before you can be readmitted back to school. So I went. Obviously, my tests were negative. But, you know, the guy of test said, you know, these things, people test negative, you know, they're using. So it became like that, and it became a fact. That was. So something happened. When I went back to school, I was received like a superstar of sorts by the rest of. So the
king.
The attention I always craved for, the esteem, you know. I wanted to be the center of things. I realized that this is my key, this is my door. So what did I do? I started. Yeah, because now this is what I've been looking for. I've been looking to be popular. I've been looking to feel like I have a self-esteem. And at that time, it was not conscious. It was not conscious. I want to explain that it was not conscious. These things happened like seamlessly. Like one thing led to another and another like that. So I started doing it, but it was not problematic. And I was smart enough to know that now you cannot catch me. So what I do now, I begin being smart I begin working hard, but on the side I'm still smoking. So I'm no longer having the symptoms you said I was having. So I finished Form 4 comfortably, and I got a grade at that time. I qualified
You qualified for university.
but I didn't want the course that the government
Had selected for you.
Had selected for me. So because I had passed well, and my father was very proud of me, he said, you can choose a course anywhere you want. And at that time, remember, this is a boy. I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I wanted all this time. So nikaenda pale university. This was in 2011. I was only 17. Sikuwa na ID. So nimeingia pale. For the first time I'm free. Sina curfew. Siendi kwa mtu. Nimekombolewa kanyumba pale nje. Yeah. And me, the only thing I knew symbolized freedom was a bar. When I'm in a bar is when I feel free. Or when I'm asking for drinks. When I'm measuring, wakati najipima naweza kunywa ngapi. Me that was freedom for me. And you know, on the side I'm also smoking. That time maybe I didn't mention. I had started smoking cigarettes and marijuana. So first year ilienda tu vizuri. And after first year, I had to shift from where I was staying. And I went to another area, a bit far from school. So by the time I get to school, by the time I wake up, I shower, niende stage, nichukue gari, nipeleke shule. Mimi nishalewa. So shule, nilikuwa naenda kutafuta pombe ingine kwa student annex. Alright? So, hiyo ilienda hivyo. And before I knew it, I even stopped now going. At least, unajua mbeleni nilikuwa naenda ni class, sikuwa naingia. Sasa mimi nikaacha kwenda kabisa. So, nikaona hakuna haja
ya kusoma,
ya kushinda nikijidanganya naenda shule. So, mimi ilikuwa naamka. Naangalia ile pesa niko nayo, najua vile nita divide. There's food, then there's all the drugs and alcohol I'm doing, and I would be high the whole day, and Friday would come and I would party the whole weekend, and Monday would come and I would party the whole week. There was no difference between Monday and Monday. There was Monday.
It was party after party.
During holidays, I would go with a resort slip. And I would make sure I have failed myself at least 1 or 2 units, so that I can say to repeat a unit is 5,000 and that one is paid cash. Smart, right? Yeah, so it went like that, and time passed by so fast. And my quality of life had gone so low. I was supposed to graduate in 2015. And by that time, I was into cheap liquor. To know changa if I could find weed. I was selling weed. I'd be the normal guy who wakes up and cannot, if I lift my head, I cannot even go to the bathroom if I'm not high. Fast. That was my fast business.
You're already in addiction.
Yeah. So my quality of life was very good. So 2015, my dad calls me, he says he has seen an advertisement in the newspapers that our class is supposed to graduate. I'm like, you called me. So he was asking, why am I not inviting them for graduation?
Informing them to attend.
I told him, mzayo umeharakisha, nilikuwa nikupigie kesho. Nikwambia ukuje graduate. So because of that lie, you see, I had not planned. And by that time, I was thinking of coming clean. But because I lied that one time, I had to see it through.
And fake everything.
Yeah, I faked everything. And apologies to the people who attended, the people and family members. It is not something I say with pride. It hurts me. I can even feel my muscles getting tense when I remember these things. but I'm not going to blame everyone. I'm not at the blame hadi shetani.
Mm.
But that is where I was at that time. I'm no longer there, and that's why I'm giving my story. So 2016 comes, and my dad finds me a job, and I'm like,
So you graduated. Like people would like to understand, how did you manage to graduate, and how did you fake people? How did you fake your family to believe that indeed you've graduated?
you know, at graduation, people just want to hear your name being read out. They want to see a gown, and they want to see the book.
Yeah, sure.
And you in the graduation square. So there are guys who graduate for real, but they don't go for their graduation. Right? There are people who hire gowns. So they take their gown somewhere and they are hired out. So that's the gown. Book, your time, sijui, I don't know about these days, ilikuwa inapeanwa asubuhi. So if you are able to delay your people long enough until you get it doctored, that's done. So part of what I did was delay tactics, like give them the wrong starting time. Like it was supposed to commence at 8, I tell them 10:30. So najua natoka ocha, so obviously watafika 11, wamechoka. So yeah, na nilikuwa na gown pale na kila kitu, na ilikuwa flawless. Nobody could think of it.
And none of your classmates tried to intrude and tell your parents these are fake graduation?
Nobody, even some of them thought it was real. You see, these are not things you go announcing. So if you see me in a gown and I was classmates, you're like, oh, you also graduating, but I never saw you in class. Be a Buddha, kujipanga. So really, and things are moving so fast. It's siku ya graduation, nobody is thinking about you. Yeah, so that never happened. And for the people who knew it was fake, they kept the secret from me because, of course, I didn't pull it alone. So nikatafutiwa kazi, singeenda juu nilikuwa naogopa kujulikana. So I lied. I'm going to do masters. And that time, when I went back, now I have this guilt. Nimeona my campus life imeenda hivyo. Nobody knows. I have this big lie that I'm carrying on my back. Ilinikula. And the only way I knew how to relieve myself was drugs and more drugs. So at some point I even started taking pills. Hiyo time tulikuwa tunazita Attain. Kwa streets zinaitwa Attain ama Cosmos. So
zinaitwa
Attain ama Cosmos. Na
hizo sasa za kufanya nini sasa?
Kufanya tu una feel high. Una feel high, unasikia kwa autopilot, unasikia tu una bounce. Unaenda tu because utaki kudeal na issues za siku anataka kudeal na issues zenye. There are people I had conned money. There are things, there are so many things. There are people I had lied to. There's a friend of mine who thought for real I had graduated, and they had sent me money to facilitate their own real graduation. They are graduating for real. And because she was in Mombasa, she and alikuwa amesikia nimegraduate, so she
sent you some money to do the planning.
The planning and the process. I ate that money, blocked her, everything. So things like that. So I was carrying a lot of burdens. It was guilt.
And at that moment, your parents could not tell you've been living a lie.
They couldn't tell. I had, what can I tell you? They have the book, they have the certificate. Fake though. Transcripts. Fake. Yes, it costed a lot of money, but you see, it was a lie. You see. And it's not the company that was mentioned that I was supposed to report to. Had it been somewhere else, I would have gone. Only that
it was a renowned company.
Yes.
That had a lot of restrictions.
Yes. So 2016, I hit this rock bottom to a point where hata kushower, nilikuwa na shower Ruiru River, because now I could not pay rent. Place tulikuwa tunaishi na maboys wangu, tulikuwa tumeshikania maboys kama 5, tunachukua kasingo, hakuna maji nini. At some point an ex of mine who was abroad came, picked me up, went home to brag.
That is my man. For introduction.
We had a lot of disagreements and a lot of fights about my drinking and drug use patterns. My aunties, my uncles, everybody around could see it was a problem. But I was so good at denial and justification. In psychology, we call it rationalization and justification. I was so good at, trying to explain, ini hapa tu ni sahi tu, wiki tu nikitaka kuacha, kesho naweza wacha. No. But that is the life I had created. But I didn't know I was getting sicker and sicker. 2017 came with my girlfriend, hatuna pesa, my girlfriend of that time. Unajua hizi vitu lazima useme with clarity.
I know.
Mtu
It can mess somewhere.
Mtu asije akasema
kwa nini hukusema hivi?
Kwa nini hukusema? Ilikuwa hiyo wakati, but it is part of my story. And I feel it's important. Hiyo wakati, hiyo relationship ilikuwa tu imejaa violence. Violence on both sides. It was violent, it was toxic. We were doing drugs, we were drinking. Haikuwa tamu. Life haikuwa na utamu.
So when was your turning point?
So fast forward 2018, came to nimeachana na girlfriend, forced though. My mother couldn't take it anymore. Because at some point nilirudi home, nikadanganyana nimeshindwa kufanya masters. But si degree bado iko. In quotes. So one day tumekosana na babangu sana because I was heading nowhere and I'm like, so nilipie degree ingine
niongeze kwa hii.
Niongeze kwa ile. Na mzazi babangu ni mjanja, akajua na wewe haujui. Alienda akatafuta rehab pale, sema kuna kijana ananisumbua. So my dad came and told me, kabla nikulipie school fees, twende pale uone daktari, upimwe hiyo kichwa, utolewe hiyo bangi, ukuje na dawa, ndio uende na hizo dawa univa. Lakini alikuwa anajua ni rehab ananipeleka, my friend. Mimi nimeenda pale, nimeingishwa pale, nimetrikiwa hivyo, nimeambiwa sijui enda ukasalimie nani. Pale rehab sasa, unajua mimi sijui ni rehab, lakini wao wanajua. Mimi nimeenda kusalimiana, nikirudi hivi kutoka sioni babangu. Mimi naambiwa sasa umeletwa rehab, ubadilika, na usipobadilika utakaa huko hadi your father is ready. Nikapigwa shock. It was so hurtful. It is, if not one of my downest moments. So I was there feeling so weak, feeling so helpless.
But finally you accepted.
Actually, I would like to share how I came to accept, because it happened in one day. Yes, I was in rehab. You see, going to rehab doesn't guarantee that you accept. And I was there, and one night, everything about me, the life I'd lived, my lies, came to me all at once. It was like they were flashing before my eyes, and I was overwhelmed by this emotion of anger, this emotion of deep sadness, sorrow, and I remember crying and saying, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't know what I'll do, but this is not what I want. That happened when I was in rehab. Before that happened, even when I was in rehab, me in my head, I knew even if I come out of here, I'll still continue with my things. But that day when those things came, and I also, by that time, I also had a weird relationship with God. But that night, I remember crying to God, and I said, God,
if you save me from this,
I don't want to live like this. And I felt free, and the following morning, I was like, I'm never going to do these things again. Come what may. That was my turning point. So I get out of rehab. I have all this pressure. By the way, in rehab now, I tell my parents the truth. about the addiction, and I cry, and about
Taking results.
about the everything else. I come clean. So I get out, and there's this plan. I can go continue with school, I can do another course, but I didn't know why I had gotten there in the first place. So I decided to do, the director of the rehab I was doing was a lecturer at some place called Kabare, and they were offering St. Paul's program. So I went there to do counseling psychology, and at the same time I enrolled another course called chemical dependency and addiction counseling at SAPTA. And I was doing 2 courses at the same time, and my dad was like, wewe ulishindwa na moja utaweza mbili. And yeah, I did it.
And you graduated.
And I graduated.
So
and
right now
I did an accreditation course for international accreditation course. Now I'm an international certified addiction professional under the Colombo plan, and now a counseling psychologist registered in Kenya.
So you got the answer on why you are an addict?
No, 2020 during Corona, I was in Uganda during the lockdown. Okay? So all this time I've been looking for answers. And because of the lockdown and everything that was happening around, and at that time my wife was pregnant, she was in Kenya, I cannot come, she gave birth. When I was there, in fact I met my daughter when she was 4 months old, and I left my wife when she was 6 months pregnant. So I stayed there for 8 months. I was completing my courses online at that time. So something happened. I was getting diarrhea and a lot of chest pains, and I would go to hospital and I would find nothing. And then a friend of mine mentioned, and I went like 3-4 times. A friend of mine mentioned, Jeff, it looks like it's anxiety. And then it dawned on me, that feeling that I had that time is the same feeling I had as a child growing up. And that is the feeling drugs was numbing for me. And when I realized that, I really began enjoying, my sobriety and my recovery. It helped me shed a lot of, because people think that quitting addiction is just stopping, but just stopping without dealing with issues just takes you to another addiction.
Yeah, sure.
So I had to go there and clean that up.
So, Japhet, as we wrap up, what can you tell youths? And if people probably who are in addiction, especially youth, might wish to find you, where can they find you?
Right now, I'm a counselor at Tigoni Treatment and Rehab Center. Japheth Githinji, Facebook, TikTok. Yeah, Facebook and TikTok.
Japheth Githinji.
Yeah, Japheth Githinji.
One word to youths who are addicts right now.
Yes?
One word to youths who are addicts right now. What can you tell them? Just one word. As a psychologist.
Yeah. It's easy to give up when you're in addiction because of its nature and its crippling nature and the chains. But don't give up. Go at it. You never know. Your day of freedom, maybe today, tomorrow, but as long as you keep trying, your day of freedom will come.
So thanks so much, Joseph, for creating time.
Yeah.
I believe your story, it will be a pillar to many. And to my viewers, this is an eye-opener to each and every youth. Every decision you make today, it will count tomorrow. Till next time, I'm your host, Japheth Githinji.